Alright, welcome back. In this video I want to take a look at applications. Students all the time struggle with applications, whether we're using whole numbers, algebra, fractions, decimals, it doesn't matter. We always seem to struggle with an application, and it comes from the fact that applications don't just simply give you the formula to work with, you have to be able to create it yourself. So I have a couple examples here that are going to help show how you walk through the process of being able to create the equation that you then have to solve. So the first one says a rectangle measures 6.4 inches in length and has a width that measures 2/5 of the length. Find the perimeter of the rectangle. So there's a couple things we need to know. First, what a rectangle looks like. I would draw a picture. So here's my rectangle. Notice it's not exactly perfect, but you get the idea. And I have a length and I have a width. Now before I do anything else, I would input what I know. I know my length was 6.4 inches. I also know that my width is going to measure 2/5 of the length. So that means I'm going to take 2/5 times my length. That's my width. Now the other thing that I need to know is I need to know how to find perimeter. So perimeter is going to be the equation twice the length plus twice the width. So here the first thing that you need to do is we need to find your width. So we're told that the width is 2/5 the length. So this is going to be the same as taking 2/5 times your 6.4 inches. So you're going to go ahead and multiply that out. So you can do it a couple ways. First, you're going to change 2/5 into a decimal and then multiply that decimal through. And so here you should come out with 2.56. Okay. Now, the other thing that we have to do is plug it into our formula. So my perimeter is going to be twice the length, so 2 times 6.4 plus twice the width, 2 times 2.56. So here we would do just that. So again, using a 4-function calculator, I would open my parenthesis and I'm going to do the first part. So 2 times 6.4 and then close it. I have to add that and open my parentheses again to do the second part. 2 times 2.56 and close it. Hit enter and we get 17.92 inches. Now if your calculator does not have the parenthesis button, then the way that you would do this is you would do an intermediate step. So what goes right in here, this is called the intermediate step. The intermediate step says first you would do 2 times 6.4. You would hit enter and you would write it down. So this would be 12.8. And then we're going to add that to the other side. 2 times 2.56, which gives you 5.12. Take that 5.12 and add it to 12.8 and notice you get 17.92. So if you don't know how to work parentheses, you can always do the intermediate step, which is just to simply write down each piece as you go and then get your final result. Okay, so in the end though, we are looking at 17.92 inches as your perimeter. The next one says a cup of coffee holds 14 1/3 ounces of coffee. If each ounce of a certain brewed coffee contains 8.5 milligrams of caffeine, how much caffeine is in one of these cups of coffee? Round to the nearest 1/10 of a milligram. So the first thing I would do is I would set it up. I know each ounce contains 8.5 milligrams And my coffee cup holds 14 1/3 ounces. Okay, and this is milligrams per ounce. So the first thing that we have to do is we need to convert. So we have to take this and we need to convert to a decimal. Again, we have two ways to do that. The first way is you're going to go from your mixed to an improper to your decimal. That's considered the long way around. The second way is you go from your mixed straight into your decimal by recognizing the pieces of your mixed number. By that, what I mean is you need to recognize that this first part here is your whole number. That means your fraction part, so the second part here, is actually going to give you the decimal part. So essentially what we have is you have 1/3, which is going to be 0.3 repeating. So my actual problem here that I'm working with is going to be 8.5 times 14.3 repeating. So the smartest or easiest thing to do is to get this value here into your calculator. So the way to do that is to take it where we have found what your decimal is. So 1/3, so 1 divided by 3, and hit enter. Then we have to add that to the whole number part and hit enter. Then we're going to multiply that by the 8.5. So times 8.5 and hit enter. And we end up with 121.83 repeating. The last thing we need to look at is the fact that we want to round to the nearest tenth. So the tenth is going to be this first spot here. We look at the spot to the right that tells us what we do. Since this is going to be less than 5, this means when we round we get 121.8, and it is going to be milligrams of caffeine. Okay. So that is the fastest and quickest way to be able to do it. Alright, so let's take a look at another one. So here we have a loaf of bread weighs 21.6 ounces. If Mercutio cuts off 1/3 of the loaf to save for later, and then cut the remaining portion into 16 equal slices, what was the weight of each slice of the 16 slices cut? So the first thing I would do is I would go ahead and I would draw myself a picture so I can kind of see what's going on here. So I have my bread, and I'm going to cut off 1/3 of it. So if I'm looking at that, I have here's 1/3, I have here's 1/3. So I'm going to go ahead and slice this third off, which means this piece is saved for later, so it's gone. So this is the only part that's left. So what we're looking at is we are looking purely at this piece here as being the piece that we are going to cut into 16 equal slices. So what do we know? Well, the first thing that we know is we know the whole bread weighs 21.6 ounces. So what do we need to do? Well, first we need to find the weight of the 1/3 cut off. So the way we do that is we take the 21.6 and we multiply it by 1/3. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So we have 21.6 and we're going to multiply that by 1/3, which is going to give me 7.2. So 7.2 ounces. So that is the weight of this third piece that's been cut away. So once we know that, we now need to find the weight of your leftover 2/3. So the way we do that is you take the weight of the whole, so 21.6, and subtract the weight of the cut off piece, 7.2. And that is going to give you the weight of your leftover box from the yellow square. So here we've got 21.6 and we're going to subtract that 7.2, and that gives us a weight of 14.4 ounces to play with. So we have 14.4 ounces left. Finally, we have to find the weight of each slice, and we know that there are 16 slices. So the last thing we need is we need to find the weight of each slice. So we're going to take what's left, so 14.4 ounces, and we are going to divide it by 16 pieces. And that is going to tell you the weight of each slice. So we're going to take that 14.4, we're going to divide it into 16 equal pieces, and we get 0.9 ounces. So we have 0.9 ounces per slice. Okay. And in terms of results, this was what we were looking for. Okay. So for this problem, notice what we had to do is we had to start with the whole and we had to keep chipping away at it until we got down to what it is that we wanted. Now the last type of problem I wanted to show is this one, which says a pound of roasted cashews costs $13.50 and a pound of roasted peanuts costs $5.25. How much will it cost to purchase 2.5 pounds of cashews and 1 1/3 pounds of peanuts? So the first thing that we need to look at is we need to look at our problem, which is cashews plus peanuts. So let's take a look at cashews. My cashews cost $13.50. And I am buying 2.5 pounds. So this is its own little problem. So I'm going to add this over to peanuts. My peanuts cost $5.25. And I am going to buy 1 1/3 pounds. So I have to do each part individually. So first and foremost, I have 2.5. So this is going to be $13.50 times 2.5. I get that by doing bottom times the big number plus the top, so 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5, and we know 5.5 is 2.5. The other way that you can look at it is 2 is my whole number and 1/2 is the same as 0.5. So then I'm actually going to do that. So here I've got 13.5 times 2.5. It's going to give me 33.75. So here this is 33.75. I need to remember to add it to my peanuts, but I also need to do my peanuts. So here I'm going to have my 5.25, and I'm going to multiply that by 1 1/3, which is the same as 1.3 repeating. So again, to get the most accurate account is I would do it step by step. So again, we're going to start with a little fraction part. So I have 1 divided by 3. So this part here gives you that 0.3 repeating. To turn it into my 1 1/3, I have to add the 1 to it because I got to add in the whole number. So there's that 1 1/3. And now I need to multiply that by 5.25, which is going to give me 6.9 repeating. So I'm going to save that in my calculator for a minute because I have to add in my 33.75. So I'm going to add in 33.75. And so here, this is going to give me 40.74 with the 9 repeating. And then the other thing I need to take into account is the following. Money always rounds to the nearest cent, which is your hundredths. Okay. So since money always rounds to that nearest cent, we're going to look here at the hundredth spot, which means I look at the spot next to it. 9 is greater than 5, so this is going to round up. So this is going to give us a total of 40.75, or $40.75. Okay. So those are the different types of application problems that I wanted to look at that involve a combination of decimals and fractions. So if you have any questions, please let me know, and I would be happy to clarify. Otherwise, remember to smile, relax, have lots of fun with your math, and as always, I'll see you next time.